patience is an interesting one, actually, because that's the one that patience is to do with time. So generally what happens is time wears down enthusiasm and confidence. Your enthusiasm and your confidence are going to be tested by time. So patience is like is your ability to go the full course. So you may have a preconceived idea of how long it's going to take to become, fairly advanced to in Krishna consciousness to a level which you would consider satisfactory. So your patience may have to go beyond what your original idea of what it was going to be, and then you may start finding out, okay, this is actually going to take a lifetime.
Yeah, this reminds me of the utsamai, like the false confidence. So like whenever like a new Bhakta joins, they think they're going to be pure devotee by next week.
Yeah.
And that quickly gets.
Well, I know one devotee, he blooped the day after he got initiated because I think he was just hanging around because he thought, well, once I'm initiated, I'm connected, and then I can just go off and do my own thing, and the guru will be there for me to take me back in the time of death. So there's that kind of cheap sahaja idea, and that undermines our ability to be patient because we're thinking, well, I'll just hang around till I get initiation, I'll just hang around till I get second, I'll just hang around till I get sannyas, or whatever it is, whatever your milestone is, and then that's it, you're going to give up, period. But actually it's not, it's a lifelong, and it's the interesting thing about patience is you come to a point where you think, well, actually Krishna is going to take control. When I do finally leave my body, Krishna will step in and he can move me through the different stages very, very rapidly. I may get sick and in 2 days I die. And those 2 days I get rapidly shifted along on the bhakti marg because Krishna looks and says, well, you gave your whole life and you never gave up. So therefore, we shouldn't listen to the mind calculating, well, you've been doing this for 40 years and you've only made this much advancement and you've only got 20 years left. And if you're going at this pace, then you're never going to make it. So you may as well just give up. Which is, I think, what happens to people outside. We did this mental health first aid course, and they were saying to us that the highest rate of suicides is men over 65. So it's kind of like they've just given up now. They thought, well, my whole life is a waste of time, and there's nothing going to be good now about it. So rather than just slowly ebb away, I think I'll just quit now while I'm ahead or while I'm behind. So that also happens with devotees. They reach a certain point and they think, wow, that was a total, and then maybe they just commit spiritual suicide.
And leave. Patience is a virtue. That's what my mother always used to tell me.
Yeah, that's it.
What does Prabhupada say in the Nectar of Instruction about patience? I'm trying to remember from the third verse. Something.
Well, maybe
we could get it.
Have a look. We can have a look and see. I've got it here actually. The Nectar of Instruction. He talks about. He says that with enthusiasm, he was referring to himself as being on his own, and he continued on anyway. Despite mitigating circumstances.
I found it here. If you want me to read it.
Yeah.
So the execution of devotional service is not a matter of idle meditation, but practical action in the foreground of spiritual life. These activities must be executed with patience. One should not be impatient in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Indeed, this Kṛṣṇa consciousness movement was started single-handedly, and in the beginning there was no response. But because we continued to execute our devotional activities with patience, people gradually began to understand the importance of this movement, and now they are eagerly participating. One should not be impatient in discharging devotional service, but should take instructions from the spiritual master and execute them with patience, depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. It's very...
this came up actually in class today. We were talking about blind following, and one of the which was saying, well, that's not so good, is it, to do blind following? Because Srila Prabhupada would say he just blindly followed his Guru Maharaj. But at the same time, Srila Prabhupada was very confident because he had confirmation, he had faith, and then Rupa Goswami appeared to him at his samadhi, Rupa Goswami's samadhi, And he said, now's the time to go to the West. So we had confirmation. Also, he'd said earlier on when Bhakta-rupa Dasa, when his disciples, his godbrothers, were saying, "I wonder who would do that, who would go across to the West and spread this." And Srila Prabhupada said, "Some fool will do it." And then he turned to do it, and he said, "And it won't be you."
Wow.
So and so therefore, obviously, so you could think, well, if I want to be patient, it would really, really help if I was chanting so purely that I've got the Lord in the heart telling me what's going to be happening. I mean, Haridas Thakur, when a prostitute came and tried to seduce him, and then eventually she broke down and she said, "I'm very, very sorry. Can I become your disciple?" And then he said, "Well, actually, I knew you were coming because I was already going to leave this cave a couple of days ago, but I hung on for you. And I know that this Ramachandra, whatever his name was,
Ramachandra Khan, is it?
Yeah, that's right, Ramachandra Khan. He said, I knew he's just a fool. I knew he was going to do this already." So that's what happens when you're chanting good japa. You're aware of past, present, and future, Tri Kalagya. And then, and then, you know, your level of patience is perfect because you're perfectly in sync with what's going on. And, you know, you just have to wait for the events to take place, fall into place, you know?
Yeah, like Krishna, Arjuna, when he sees the universal form, and then Krishna says, "Look, you've seen this now. It's up to you. Become an instrument in the fight." You know, like that's the same thing for us. With Sankirtan. That's what I was thinking when I just read that with Prabhupada. It's like Prabhupada's actually a true Sankirtan devotee, and he got told to go and distribute Krishna consciousness in the West, and he needed that patience because patience is such an important characteristic on Sankirtan. Like Krishna will definitely test by Sankirtan meaning book distribution. Like Krishna will test your patience constantly. Like
Yeah, there's one thing being patient, and then there's another thing being aware of what is going to take place, and then just allowing Krishna to manifest his plan, and we become malleable to what his plan is, and then Krishna kind of gives us more insight into the plan as it's unfolding. So we have to be all the time begging Krishna that I hope that I'm in your plan and not in Maya's plan. I hope you're planning for me to be in things, you know, and then because Krishna's aware if you are going to at any point desist on the path and go away, and he's also aware that you'll maybe also come back, but at the same time he's interacting with us moment by moment and always giving us the choice to choose, you know. So if we have that faith that whatever Krishna is arranging for us is for the benefit of all his parts and parcels, including ourselves, and let me just go with whatever that is, then Krishna can do wonderful things. When we start trying to initiate things independently ourselves, then everything gets messed up because then we're not quite sure, was that Krishna's arrangement? Or was that because I made a mess of it because I didn't follow properly?
Yeah, it's interesting like that because we may have like a desire or plan or something we want to do in terms of taking the reins on our own life, and sometimes when we have that, it creates a lot of anxiety. I wonder, is that anxiety like linked with the fact that you're trying to make your own plan and you're deviating from Krishna's plan? Because anxiety is kind of like fear, right? It's like a
it's an animal propensity, isn't it? The fearing propensity. I mean, it sounds easy on paper, but actually when it comes to being patient and having faith, you may discover you haven't got either. And then it's a question of, what would I proactively need to do to cultivate these qualities? How do I go? I can't just jump from being one thing to another. And I'm at this level of conditioning, and I'm in this combination of the modes of material nature. How can I, in small increments, move toward a progressive path?
because it's interesting for me, like just like a real life example. We're trying to find like a house to live in, basically, and it's like you find a house and then it gets taken by someone else, or like like my dad's house, the water just fell through the roof, so like now we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer before we can sell that house properly. And so all of these different, I always perceive it as like Krishna is like testing your patience and seeing how much you're willing to just let go of control over the situation.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it breeds this anxiety.
Yeah, we have a plan. Bhakti Maharaj says, if you want to make Krishna laugh, tell him your plans. So Krishna knows what's going on. And when you tell him what your plan is, then he laughs, because he says, well, you obviously don't know what's going to be going on, you know. So we have to tread very cautiously in the material world. And we can make tentative plans, but always ready, always looking out to see what is the direction that I'm supposed to go in, you know. And if something is very prayasas, achihara prayasas cha, if it feels like this is really an over endeavor, then we should be thinking, well, maybe Krishna doesn't want me to do this, you know, because there's just so many obstacles. And so we're always trying to tune in which way is it that Krishna wants us to go. And in that sense, impatience can be good, because if you become impatient with a path where you don't feel like you're making any progress, you're not properly engaged, you're not properly tapping into your real potential, then you have to remain open to the dynamics of your own application of Krishna consciousness and your own internal dialogue that you're having with the Lord. You know, even Srila Prabhupada says 64 rounds, then eventually, okay, just do 16. Let's do this. Okay, that's not going to work. Let's try that. So he was testing the water all the time, and at the same time, he was willing to abandon things rather than just going along mindlessly and thinking, no, you just got to be patient. You just got to be patient. No, you got to be open and see, well, this is not working, so I need to try something else.
Yeah, you've got to be conscious of what's going on, because generally, if it's Krishna's plan, it's like all of the stars align and everything just like tick 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 tick, like everything works out exactly how you want, like better than how you could have planned it yourself.
Yeah,
It's usually like if you do learn how to tune into that and see, okay, this is really, I'm spinning my wheels on this, like this is feeling like over endeavor. I think I lost you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Are we back?
Yeah, back now.
Okay. So you were making a point that we have to be patient to see things fall into place, and then we can kind of like, we can join up the dots and say, oh, this is what it was. You know, first of all, we just see all the dots, but we're not quite sure what that means. And then we put them on, then it makes a particular picture. So one of the side benefits of patience is it gives you the ability to look at things with hindsight. And so you can reflect back, and at the time you maybe couldn't understand it, but now you look back and you realize, well, that was perfect. It had to happen like that. That guru had to go because the society had to learn so many things. At the time, it seemed like a total disaster. Like there couldn't have been anything worse that's going to happen to me than the guru going away. And then in hindsight, yeah, that had to happen. And that was where I found I was very confused at the time. And devotees, 1984 or was it 85? Were very confused about what was going on. Oh, okay, give me 1 second. Yeah, so what was fascinating about that whole, because there was a lot of turbulence that took place when, because we know at that time most of the gurus were okay, and nobody ever thought this one would have problems, and so then he suddenly decided he couldn't do it anymore and he left. So it was, the whole world was just turned upside down. Now, what was amazing about that was, I would say within the space of about 3 or 4 weeks, because Shiva Ramash was laughing at me, he goes, is everything okay? And I said, yeah, actually, I think it was for the better. And he just burst out laughing, you know. No, I would never have known that that was going to be for the better unless I'd have just stayed the course. So patience doesn't necessarily mean you have to be hanging around for decades, because if you're practicing Krishna consciousness, not that mine was very intense, but if you are practicing Krishna consciousness very intensely and very seriously, then your ability to see what's going on and why it's going on will be given to you. Because when we talk about Krishna consciousness, it doesn't just mean walking around thinking, oh, I love that blue cowhead boy. It means seeing why this was arranged in the way it was, all the different reasons why it was good for me, why it was good for the person, even the person that left, why it was good for that one, why that was why it had to happen like that. Unless you can see that, if you're just confused and you think it's so unfair and so unjust, then that's not Krishna consciousness. It's not. You've not yet been able to add that extra dimension to things, that dimension which gives everything meaning and significance.
Yeah, there's something I noticed recently is like when you, because it's quite easy to get stuck in that way of thinking, like, this was
Yeah,
so unfair, the way this person spoke to me is not right, and I need more respect, and I need this, I need that.
yeah, yeah,
But if you just lean into your sadhana a little more,
yeah,
or just really just like you were saying last night, like hear each name, like think of the Maha mantra while you're chanting instead of thinking all of that stuff.
yeah.
Just by
Isn't it
engaging the
powerful?
mind. Oh,
It's so powerful, isn't it? I mean, I've been doing it again today. It's taken longer, but and toward the end, the last few rounds, the sound wasn't the same anyway. It actually had a taste. It was like Krishna.
Krishna.
It's like it's like it caught me. It's like, oh, that's not a normal sound. And then immediately the mind, you're not forcing the mind anymore. The mind's become intrigued. What's this sound you're making? This doesn't seem. Every time you say it, I feel so good. Krishna. It's like, oh, say that again, Krishna. Oh, say that again, Krishna. Oh, this is amazing. I want to just keep saying it, Krishna. But it took me about 14 rounds to get to that point of just being really, really serious. No, we're just going to keep hearing this. We're just going to keep hearing it. And I had the faith that in due course it would. And so I didn't flip out. I didn't get mental. I didn't go on a downer. And then bang, after the 14th, suddenly it blossomed.
Yeah, it's like yeah, because also like that idea of reading, looking for gems. Like recently, I've been reading seventh canto, just like as I'm going through the Bhagavatam, and this
Yeah,
point keeps coming up that wherever there is Krishna, there can't be darkness. So if
yeah,
you're engaging your mind in Krishna consciousness, there's no time for this like the mind rotating on this person disrespects me and the establishment of ISKCON is broken in this way and I hate bureaucrats and like this whole wherever your mind can easily find
yeah,
fault. If you just put your mind on Krishna, then it does solve a lot of problems actually, if not all the problems.
Well, yeah. One of the problems is ISKCON is like a microcosm of what's going on in society, and because we are surrounded by, it's basically an atheistic society that we live in. Then we have all these wokeisms, all these different byproducts of being in an atheistic society. Instead of people seeing some meaning and arrangement behind their existence, they're just taking themselves as being the center of the universe, their own little God in control of their destiny, and therefore feeling that they have to get involved and look for justice in so many silly little petty situations, whereas if we lived in a God conscious society, people would just be stepping back off the situation, seeing the bigger picture, and just being more, nicer and tolerant of each other.
Yeah, and you're saying that also exists within the International Society of Krishna Consciousness.
Yeah, yeah. It eats in, and then you get devotees becoming offended because it seemed that you did this and this is, and then um, and then actually what happens is the devotees can start to take the side of the mundaners, and then they start to take a moral higher ground. Prabhu, you just pulled that weed out, and that's killing somebody. You didn't need to. That weed could have stayed where it was. It wasn't. And it's all like these mundane considerations coming in. And that actually impacts on the Krishna conscious perspective. We're pulling the weed out because we want to put a carrot there and give it to Krishna. So that's unfortunately what will compromise, and then you'll end up with like this split where you have devotees that have faith in just following to the standard the Prabhupada wanted, and other devotees that are thinking, no, we need to water things down now and make them more kind of compliant with woke concepts.
Which sounds really, to my mind, it doesn't make sense, because if we have faith in the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Vedas, then we understand that's eternal knowledge, and like these other
Yeah,
perceptions are just relative.
yeah,
So like
yeah,
to let that relative sort of
yeah,
influence It means that we're not
Yeah,
really
like
hearing properly, right?
it means a lot of things. One thing is the cartel is round and it is shaped like that and has been and always will be. It makes a very pleasing sound. Now we could change the shape of the cartel and decide no, we need to improve that now and make it triangular shaped instead.
Mm.
And then when we try to use it, it wouldn't be as good. So everything in the Vedic culture, because it's eternal, the chapati is always the chapati, the
Mm.
rice, the dal, the spicing, the kartal, the mridanga. That's all the way it is. It doesn't get any better than that. You don't improve on perfection. That is perfection, you know. But we live in a society where styles, fashions, and everything is being upgraded all the time. You throw your phone away now because we've got a better one. You throw your trousers away now because we've made a better pair. You know, all the time, people are being encouraged to consume and waste. Throw it away. Get this now. Now throw that away. Now get this now. Now throw that away. There's no idea of sustainability. It's because sustainability means you can only sell the person the car once, and that lasts him his entire life.
Yeah.
And that means we don't make as much profit. So financial consideration is undermining all the other principles. You know, the sustainability of things.
It's the I've heard this spoken about before. The society is run by Vaishyas, you know,
Yeah.
like our modern society, Vaishyas and Shudras, whereas it should be run by Kshatriyas that are instructed by Brahmanas. But yeah, when you have the Vaishyas in charge, then everything's about the profit and everything's, yeah, there's no brain to society.
Yeah, and that impacts on patients because if people don't feel rightly situated and they don't really feel that this is the goal of life and they don't really feel there's any tangible meaning to anything, then your ability to be patient, it's like how patient can you be if you're on a sinking ship and you feel like it's not getting anywhere and then you just become totally frustrated. Whereas someone that's in a spiritual practice, he can feel he's benefiting and he's gravitating more and more towards his ultimate end. And he's feeling that his whole being is resonating with this auspiciousness. And then, yeah, I can be patient because I'm already aware that I'm achieving my destination. Like if you're on a train, right, and it's a 13-day ride, but you can feel yourself getting towards your destination, then you've got no problems with those 13 days. Whereas the other people on the train, they don't, you know, they just got through on the train. They don't know where they're going to be getting off, and they're all just jumping around in the train like monkeys.
Yeah. Which is it's hard. It's hard, like looking back on our lives before Krishna consciousness. Like it's such a hard existence without that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so hard to convince a person that we have a viable alternative. You know, so it
Well,
takes patience.
convincing is in a clash of words like you jump on your little fruit box and you're clutching your Bhagavad Gita and you're preaching to people and trying to really drum it into them. A lot of the time when we're preaching to ourselves, and this person just has to be hearing it while you are, you know.
Yeah.
If we can get to the point of Majjhima, Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually is quoted in Sri Ramanuja's Shuddhavakti Chintamani. If you're a Kṛṣṇa, then all you can do is create a little bit of faith in someone to take it up. And then if you're a Majjhima, you can inspire people to another level. And then in
Yeah.
Uttama, I think Majjhima can inspire people to the point of taste. And then the Uttama Adhikari can actually give somebody prema. So your ability to preach and touch somebody's heart is very much dependent upon your level of Krishna consciousness. Not that you shouldn't preach, because that's going to speed up the process of you making advancement. But for you to really get to the point where you come back off Sankirtan and there's 5 people behind you and you say, oh, these guys were blown away and they want to join. They've all just told their wives they're divorcing them and they've quit their jobs. You know, like Srila Prabhupada was able to do.
Yeah, that makes me think. Like, you know, you hear this. I don't know if you've heard the story of Krishna Goswami when he was on the Radha Damodar party,
Yeah.
and
With the
Prabhupada was,
rose.
yeah, Prabhupada was like, what, you know, what? Show me what you've done, and he brought in all of these shaved up boys with roses, and like 7 or 8 shaved up brand new sign-ups. Was Krishna Goswami like a special soul from day one?
Yeah.
Like these
Yeah.
these are like
Well,
eternal.
I'm listening right now to the morning walks, and you know, you can see he's really, you know, for a devotee that's only been around for a few years, he's phenomenal. You know, the way he has such a good, and he listens very attentively. He really tunes into what Srila Prabhupada is talking about. You can hear with some of them, Srila Prabhupada is saying something and they'll speak, and it's kind of out of sync with what Prabhupada is meaning, or which way he wants to go. And Hare Krishna is just like bang on, and you can see Srila Prabhupada's really pleased with that. He's aware of which way he wants the conversation to go, and he's able to make such appropriate comments to really further Prabhupada's, enhance what Prabhupada's already trying to do, which direction he's trying to go with the conversation. So yeah, it's amazing actually to listen. Hridananda Goswami as well, he's very good. He's very very clear and very confident as well, the way he's speaking with Srila Prabhupada. You can hear that he has a lot of love for Prabhupada, and he's able to speak to him in that way.
And those 11th canto purports are just like unbelievable as well,
Yeah.
But yeah, I've heard that a symptom of someone that can hear well is someone who can inquire well, or who can because if you're able to hear, you can inspire someone to speak more, speak further. You hear it throughout the Bhagavatam. Thank you for asking such a pleasing question. Now let me answer it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and generally what's happening is people aren't hearing, or they're kind of half listening, but they're also hearing what they're going to be saying next. So they're distracted. The person's speaking, and then halfway through while he's speaking, they're not listening anymore because they're thinking, I'm going to say this, that, the next thing. And by the time the person's finished, he says, yeah, and the queen had a pink dress. And by now, that doesn't mean anything. At the time, he was saying something, but he moved on to something else. But you've just been thinking about what you're going to say now according to that comment. So you're only really ever hearing half of what's being said. Whereas if you're just really, really hearing them, when the person does stop, you will automatically have the exact right reply to say, which is appropriate because you've listened.
It's a lot of pressure. I don't know what to say next. How do you live on that edge?
Yeah. Well, actually, it's funny, because there's another devotee that there's a similar thing to this, and sometimes you can tell that because he's preoccupied by the comments coming in, that when he switches back to speak to the person, sometimes the person seems a little bit annoyed. Well, what are you talking about? Yeah, I've just been saying, I've not been listening to me, but he was distracted by other things. So yeah, it's hard to do that. But if you can just allow yourself to have that confidence that I'm just going to listen, and then and automatically, spontaneously, the appropriate next thing to say to enhance the direction will come in. Like, I'm thinking, we're talking about patience here. We're talking about a society that's run by Vaishyas, and because there's no meaning really anymore, everything's topsy-turvy and there's not really a head in society. Then for that reason, the people are becoming impatient. And one symptom of impatience is suicide.
Oh, definitely.
Because you just can't be bothered anymore. It's like, I was trying to figure this thing out, and I'm just getting nowhere. Okay, that's it. I'm off. I'm jumping out the window, So impatience, you may think, well, I don't want to be patient. I just want to get on with things. But patience could save your life.
Definitely. It's so hard to, like, I've been in that situation myself. Like, it's just like, okay, I need some kind of relief from this way that I'm feeling. And I know that if I wait, I'll feel relief, but I need instant relief. Like, I need this. It's because this current society, in terms of patience, you just look at TikTok, Instagram, these algorithms. People are so impatient that they're constantly scrolling to the next thing.
Well, this suicide thing, one of the things that they say, people that have done it, they've jumped out the window, and as they were going down the side of the building, because they were so high up, the wind has blown them into another window, so they've gone crashing through this other window, and they've survived, And they asked these people, well, what did you think when you jumped out? And they said, as soon as I jumped out, I thought, what the hell am I doing?
Oh, no. Yeah. It's heavy.
So that's the thing. If you can be patient, then you can just kind of go through with things, and then that clarity and sanity will come. But the problem with depression is that people lose the ability to see beyond today. I'm reading this book, Lost Connections, and that's one of the points that comes up, that people lose the ability to really be able to plan. They just see that this moment that I'm experiencing now, where there's no relief, is just going to carry on now forever for the rest of my life. And then they get really, really depressed, and then they think the only way out of this is to just stop it. You never guess what? My cake is looking like it's done, and I have to pull it out the machine in case it bakes too much, and I need to check it around now. Is there any concluding things, or can we wrap it up?
Concluding thing is, everyone can be patient and wait for next.
Well, yeah, I thought that some good points came out there because I hadn't thought about it quite like that. So it was nice to kind of unravel it and see how it touches all different aspects of our life, and to try and see patience in a different way. Not patience as like a boring thing that old age pensioners do when they're waiting for a bus, but patience is a proactive strategy to safeguard you against annihilation.
Drop the mic. It's like you gotta come in a bit more like.
It needs to be a bit. If I had a bit more melodic and less
more like this.
clicky.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare.
That ain't me there.
Hare
That ain't
Rama,
me.
Hare Rama. Yeah, but something more like Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You know like that. Sing it now.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hey, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jiv Jago.
Nitaigo.
Rango.
Nitai.
Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. Over and over again, you'll find out that name and the object, that unlimited reservoir of pleasure, are the same.